Welcome to Evolve Flow Express. We are on our third episode. This episode will be talking about letting go to grow. Today, I also want to go ahead and introduce myself because I was told that I didn't introduce myself on the first two episodes. My name is Kitora. I actually work in accounting outside of this, so this is really something that I've been talking about and wanted to expand on. And I finally stepped into it 2025, I stepped into it. And so I'm excited to go on this journey and excited to share with you my experience and everything like that. Today, I have the Royal Minister. He goes by the Royal Minister Prince or Muhammad as well. I'll go ahead and let him introduce himself for yours.
Thank you for having me on. First and foremost, Happy New Year.
Yes.
At least Happy Gregorian New Year for anybody who knows about the Gregorian calendar. The real New Year is not until March, right? So thank you for having me on here. This is the first film, the first podcast, first major piece of content that I'm doing, perhaps even for you.
Yes.
Today's what, the third?
Yes, the third.
Third. So I'm grateful for that. Just wanted to give gratitude.
Yes.
So for me, my name is Mohammed, Prince Mohammed. The Royal Minister. That's where you can find me at all streaming platforms. And I'm grateful to be here in a period of evolution and expression. And I give thanks for having the opportunity to sit here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we dive into here.
Yes. Okay. Well, I would like to ask you, about your experience of letting go. Like, have you had to kind of go into certain mindset shifts or, just certain things that you probably had to get through to get to where you are now? And how would you best experience or express that experience?
It's a great question. I would like to start that off by just taking a deep breath in and releasing slowly through the mouth.
Yes, and we'll be talking about releasing as well. So,
just to ground myself, in this space as one of your channel names is Evolve,
Flow Express.
Flow and Express. So in order to evolve, in order to let go, it really starts at that root, the root of breathing.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, we do so many things, on any given day. But if you were to stop breathing for just over 2 minutes, you would lose consciousness.
Yeah.
So the most important thing that we're doing every day is that breath. And we don't understand how if we don't take fully ingested breaths, you can contain or trap energy within your cells.
Yes.
So when it comes to letting go, we can talk about changing your mindset and shifting your perspective on how things look. But if you're still maintaining the same rhythm, right, the same breath of life that you were when you went through the experience, it can be hard for the cells to release.
Okay.
So for me, I've learned to sit and be still.
Okay.
And when you sit and be still, now all of the clutter and the outside noise of this world slows down. And then the letting go process is a natural thing that happens when you have that space and that time given.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with most of that. I definitely agree with that. I feel like for me, in my experience of certain things, it was just more so letting go of people, letting go of ideas of people, understanding that I actually needed to go within. I always say this. My dad says this statement all the time, and you need to go within to deal without. And that's a matter of, meditation, prayer, different things like that to kind of recollect yourself and bring your energy back. And actually balance it and ground it in a sense as well. So I definitely agree with that. Definitely. I've had a lot of experience of that. Last year I had to let go of a friendship that was for like 13 years.
Now, is this a friendship or are you using that term very loosely here?
Oh no, I mean we were actually friends. Me and her were friends. We were around each other all the time, but realizing that our friendship was built off of things that were no longer something I wanted to even indulge in, or something that was a part of me anymore in a sense. And trying to navigate my life, my emotions, and how I felt and what I actually needed moving forward from a friend, it became I guess evident that, eventually we're going to have to create space in this friendship. It might not have to end, but we have to create space. And with that, she didn't take it well. You know, I really realized that a lot of times when you are changing your own reality, you're shifting, you're growing in a certain sense, you're also shifting other people's reality. You're also shifting other people's, own, I guess, environment, overall. And that shifts their comfort. Now you are a part of their comfort, however you were sitting, however you were acting, reacting to certain things, you shifting changes all of that. So now, they might not be, what can I say, accepting
Yeah,
of that,
yeah, receptive to it.
receptive to that. Yeah.
I see exactly what you're speaking about is that gray microcosm, the neutron soup, what they call in physics.
Neutron
The
soup.
fact that, first and foremost, why do we come together?
Okay.
Right? Why did you and that individual come together? Typically, it's because of the initial bond that's formed. And bond is a scientific term. And what happens is a lot of the times you form a bond based upon the experience you're going through momentarily, right? And it's a moment that is passing. So unless and until we are able to form bonds that are not just for the moment, but that are for the future moments, there will always come new cycles and new times where we bond out, right? Or we bail out.
Okay.
We say the term bail in law, like you need to bail out of jail,
Yeah.
because the term bail comes from a commercial or Navy term, meaning when a ship gets into deep waters, it now has to be bailed out.
Okay.
So that's what happens when you get into the court system, you get too deep into their waters, you need to be bailed out.
Okay.
Because we're dealing with the law of the waters. Everything is 85% water. So it is natural to form a bond, although the scope of our vision limits us to just evolving with the people that we're with. And once we understand that, then we'll naturally allow bonds to fold and unfold. And as long as we are willing to grow, because it's natural for the body to just do what's comfortable.
Yes.
It's a little bit unnatural to push yourself and go to the next level. And that just has to do with the psychology of our minds or the biology of our cells.
Yeah.
So understanding this, you'll see that with your environment, with your home, with your family, with your friends, we're kind of stimulated just enough to stay exactly where we are at. It isn't until you go through something traumatic or something super exciting do you even think about, I want to do that again, or
Yeah.
I never want to do that again.
Something that sparks the mind in a different way. I definitely agree with that. Yeah. No, definitely. I feel like that was a major part, and then honestly, but okay, I would definitely say even on that particular friendship, it took 4 years of a process of actually going through that. Like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And
Wow,
yeah,
congratulations. That's a long
yeah,
time.
4 years of a process because I went through the emotional phase of feeling like, oh no, I'm leaving a friend behind. And I mean, crying. It felt like a breakup.
I was like, congratulations, 4 years to break up with somebody. Man, this is a loyal friend, y'all. Make sure y'all get acquainted and network.
Very
with her.
loyal, very loyal.
If that's the case in life and in friendship, I can only imagine the dedication and commitment when it comes to business.
Yes,
Because
yes.
typically me, 4 days after 4 days, you're gone, buddy. I'm sorry.
Oh no. I guess, I'm pretty big on integrity as well. So like I mean what I say. So it's like if I say I'm going to do something, even if later on I might feel like, man, I'm so tired or I don't feel like doing this. I've now realistically behind all of that, I feel like I gotta do it because I've already said it. I've already made it known that I was going to do that. So me keeping integrity on my word, and it don't matter if I just say it to myself. The fact that I said it, I got to do it. That's just me. So yeah, I'm pretty big on that. But yeah, I would definitely say letting go of people was a big thing for me last year. And then letting go of, like, I guess, perspectives of even myself personally. Yeah, for sure. Because I don't know. I thought that I was doing things that I loved. And then I realized I was not actually enjoying life. I was kind of just doing the everyday. I'm going to work, I'm going to sleep, and then I'm back at it again. And then when the weekend hits, that's when the fun starts, and that's when you're supposed to be living, but it's only a 2 day, you know what I'm saying, experience. So
Now that makes sense. So that even made me, with what you just said, it helped me see exactly what positions us where we are. So for me, even speaking about letting go, one, I was born in France from parents who are from West Africa, Guinea Conakry. So
wow.
it was easy for my mother to let go of her home country and move to another country, France. Then at 4 years old, we moved again, and she moved me to New York City. So again, it was
Wow.
easier. Not I won't say easy, but she had the strength to let go of her family to go and explore and to chase more,
Yeah.
right? And then at 12 years old, I was diagnosed with cancer, right?
Wow.
I had T cell lymphoma, and the statistics goes 1 out of every 4 child with cancer doesn't make it. So I grew up, and it was like 1, 2, 3. That child in that next room is not going to make it by the end of this year.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up just kind of seeing things come and go. So it taught me at an early age in life never hold on too dear to things because at any moment in time things can up and change. You know, whether that be me moving to different countries or whether that
Yeah.
be me falling terminally ill. So that put me down the path of understanding the why, the what's, the when, the where, the who, and the how these
Yeah.
things are happening. How does a little child at 11 years old contact cancer? You know, who knew at 11 years old there was a thing called childhood cancer,
Yeah.
right? At the time they told us you had to
That's
smoke
pretty
cigarettes
shocking.
and that's how you get cancer through
Right. I'm
smoking
like, that's how we
cigarettes,
knew it.
right? So I quickly began to learn like, okay, there are things that are happening right in front of our faces that we're not aware of. And even the fact that, you know, we want to be friends or we want to build with certain people, a lot of these things come from lack and not from abundance.
Yes.
Because when you truly have everything that you need, not just to exist, but to flourish and to thrive, then you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
You know, but they've taught us that everything we need is on the outside of the external. When I
Yes.
was going through the traumatic or cancer experience, I learned to, well, I was forced to, in a sense, be still and to think. So I had to generate happiness from an internal point before I even realized what meditation or what true happiness was.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter, you know, what somebody does when it comes to complimenting you or even insulting you. You have the choice internally to say, oh, okay, I like that, or okay, I received that. You
Yes.
know, but we have been governed and we even have been educated to live reality from the outside in and not from the
Inside
inside out.
out.
You know, remembering that everything is a projection of your mentality.
Yeah.
Because if you have mental health issues, I'm gonna say that polite way, right? Then you may not be able to perceive the same reality as somebody who has supreme mental health abilities. You know, so your level of consciousness is giving you your actual output to reality. So
Yes.
lose your consciousness through sleep, and you lose reality. So the reality that you think it is truly a reflection and a projection of your consciousness. You know, so this even gets into the Bible and into Scripture. It said that, you know, in the beginning that God created the heavens and the earth, and I don't want to get too biblical, but this is the royal minister here, so we got to touch the Scripture a little bit. And then what I want to point out is in Genesis 1, I believe 15, talks about the lights that were placed in between the night sky and the daylight. They were placed as signs that were fixed for today's time, tomorrow time, and forever to come. Those fixed lights are also known as the stars. And right, the deeper you get into science, the more you realize we are made up of the same components of decomposing stars. So we're literally stardust maintaining a human form. You know, which is why when you ask how am I doing, I say I'm phenomenal because we're phenoms, we're magic happening, right? But going back to the art of attachment and evolving, it's a star's nature to evolve, right? So it becomes the program or the job of society to make sure that we stay in the hard rock, right? The hard rock cafe or the hard rock phase, right? And this is what you could say makes it difficult to evolve and difficult to flow, difficult to express.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. I agree with that. Definitely. Because that that goes into actually social media. I was talking about social media so much, as to say like how, social media will actually have you self sabotage. It'll have you do all different types of things, but it keeps you in this bubble of thinking that what you see through social media is like live. Like what I was telling you before, a lot of people show their highlights and their lowlights. They don't show the in between process because realistically, it would be impossible for most people to do that without, I guess, embarrassment, all these different things that you have to deal with. People condemning you, people, judging you in the way that you don't really want. So you showing your highlights and your lowlights keeps them in a certain controlled phase of, okay, yeah, this is great. And it puts the influence out there that this is what life is supposed to be like. And realistically, even my purpose for this podcast overall is to show different perspectives, different experiences in life, because everybody has their own experience. There's no one story, no one cookie cut person out there. Your stories and your actual experience can be similar. Like we can have similar experiences and have different perspectives on the entire experience. Like me and my siblings, all three of us, we grew up together. We all have different perspectives on how we grew up. Some people, well, I guess out of us three, one of us feels a little bit more traumatized by some things. The other one, he kind of shut down a little bit. And me, I'm more like, oh, well, this was a great time. I'm more optimistic. So everybody has their own ways. And just how you said before, your perspective shifts and it kind of shapes your whole experience of life, because I really feel like people who are like Debbie Downers and they're negative and just kind of really always looking for the negative outcome in life, they always get it. And it's based on their own perspective. Like if you're looking for the negative, you're going to find it. You're going to always find what you look for. So
let me help those people out, right? So we don't want to detract any viewers. This is the number one podcast on evolving, flowing, and expressing. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
and we're tired of you, okay? We're tired of you, Debbie Downers, you negative Nancys, okay? It's time to grow up and evolve. But
yes,
everybody has butts, right?
Yes.
The thing is, with the natural way people express themselves, this goes back into the stars and the signs that are placed above. We're decomposing stars. So stars orbit, they have cycles, they have patterns, they have resonance, they have vibration, they have tone, they have tune.
Okay.
So our astrological makeup is what gives us our natural flow and expression. So one of your siblings may be a earth sign or a water sign. Those are the feminine signs of the zodiac.
Water signs.
So water transmits energy. It picks up electricity. It even holds the charge of electricity.
Yeah.
So it could be harder for water signs to let things go. Right? It could also be easier for them to pick things up. Same for an earth sign. If it really hits their core, then it's something that they have made a part of them, a piece of them.
Yeah.
So this is also a super strength, a superpower in figuring out these different pieces of self. Like, how does my mind articulate itself in a biological or astrological sense? How does my passions drive me in an astrological sense? And when we get deeper into this realm of knowledge of self, we'll stop just, pointing the finger, and we'll start realizing like, oh, wait, I attracted that situation in order for me to evolve to my next stage of growth.
You see?
Otherwise, it's like you can only see but so much of your DNA.
Yes, that's definitely, I definitely agree with that. I feel like, and I was just telling my dad that too. I was like, I trust that, my experiences, regardless if it's good or bad, is for the greater good for me, regardless to either grow, to learn from it. So each experience I'm thinking, well, let me see what I need to learn out of this, let me see how I can expand from this or, move on through it, and rather than just go around it, because most likely I'm going to encounter it again. So, but,
So you learn your lesson, you earn your blessing. And when you drop the L from learn, that's when you earn. And the L is the lesson that you need to listen to, to get to the next level in life.
Yes. I agree with that. That was a nice little bit. Okay.
Take the L's, and flip the L to a 7, and then everything will be complete.
I definitely agree with that. I like that, honestly, for sure. Honestly, I feel like overall, in my thought process on things, well, for one, I didn't even know that I would make so many connections with my podcast so soon. I thought, like, oh, I'm going to be kind of going through different things. But even in that, me projecting the thought process of all this is going to work out in the way that it needs to, and I'm just going to flow with the process and use each step as a growing phase, it's been like an interesting journey. Meeting like people instantly as soon as my mindset was like, oh, you do this, okay, and it's like you just attract it automatically. So I feel like in that, even talking about letting go to grow, in that, if the moment I let go of the fear of the unknown per se, because that's what most people fear, the unknown, but the fear of the unknown, letting go of that, immediately going into, I trust the process, and I trust that through the process I'll get to where I need to be. That has, like, honestly shifted everything. Immediately just started, it was different people, different friends, different, just everything just shifted completely. So I don't know.
Sheesh, well, yeah, you just helped shift my mind with what you said. If
Really?
you don't know, let's pray for knowing, right? And give
Yes.
thanks as you give, so shall you receive.
Yes,
There
yes.
are natural laws that govern the universe, right? Like what goes up must come down.
Must come down.
What goes around comes around. What you put in, you get out.
Yes.
Right? They call this the law of correspondence.
Okay.
That's more like metaphysical.
Okay.
In physics, they call it the law of transmutation of energy. Right?
Okay.
So what you actually spoke about just there helped me remember, because we're all reflections and projections, that we do have higher faculties in our mind or in our brain.
Okay.
Right? That's like your prefrontal cortex, where everybody talks about your third eye, but nobody gets into the scientific application of what the pineal and the pituitary gland are.
Oh, yes.
So that activates your reasoning, it activates your will, it activates your logic, it activates your memory, right? So when you say you're gonna do something, you have a reticular activating system, ROS for short, that activates, and this is what generates the power, electric power for you to do the thing. Like when you're laying in bed before work or before school, you're like, okay, I gotta get up now.
Yeah.
That's that ROS. That's like boom, it generates even if you do not have the energy. Yes.
Maybe that's
yes.
where my integrity boost comes from.
yeah. So depending on your natural sign, right, you could be tapped into the Ra more
Okay.
than others. If you're a fire sign, that's Ra is the sun, or
Definitely fire.
so yeah. So when you know thyself, then you can on purpose do certain things.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, as soon as you shift, aka change your frequency, change your state, then now a different realm or a different world does open up. Kind of like
Yes.
Doctor Strange, where she showed them like there are things that you're not aware of because of your scope of vision or your thoughts. See, once you open your mind, there's also the law of correspondence talks about as above, so below as within, so without. When you open your mind, you open the field. You're living in the mind, aka you can say your mind or the collective thoughts that are flowing in the air, through the airwaves known as Wi-Fi. And before it was Wi-Fi, it was known as ether, AETHER. My point is though, once you open your mind and shift your mind, you then open the field or open the mind. So whatever you're saying, so it literally becomes a focus of being positive and affirming the path that you're on, because what you're putting out, you're getting back. So just know, if you got a big ask, it may take for more things to form in time and in space for you to actually get to that point.
Yeah.
Which is why when you ask me how I am, I say I'm just phasing through the time-space continuum, understanding that, well, for me, I was blessed to have cancer. I see it as a blessing now. It taught me how to sit down, slow down, and use the mind. So now I live in the field of my thoughts. The only times things don't align with my thoughts is when I get too distracted or too non-linear off of my train of thought. Going back to social media and entertainment, and there are even forms of education now. You can have analysis paralysis by getting fed so much information about the same
Yes.
subject. So it's like at the end of the day, you want to have a fine balance of, okay, studying and tapping into things outside of your being, but then going back into your being, like, how can I create now?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, there are people who are looking for you. They're waiting for you to invest in your business, to open the doors. There are millionaires that are you on the other side.
Yeah.
And if they just found themselves at 20 or 30 years old, what they would do for that person. So it's like, but sometimes we get so caught up in the norm of society, which
Yeah.
I gotta go ahead and let it be known the norm of society is fear based,
It is
right?
so
And it's ignorance
fear-based.
based.
Yeah.
We live in the American dream. But to be dreaming, you gotta be sleeping. So we're not really woke. That's why they say stay woke, and there's a whole woke movement going on.
Yeah.
Because the first universal law is all is mental. This is before vibration and before correspondence. So if you knew the power of your mind, then you would focus on your vibration and the things that are corresponding, in the state of vibrations that you're in, so that you can be in a certain rhythm and you can cause an effect on purpose to
Yeah.
create a polarity that then will create an entity. So they're gonna have to run that back, but that's the secret.
You just spit so much information. I'm like trying to digest it.
Just dropping the little gems, but also just reiterating and reminding, your wish is your command. And this is when you pick up your crown, or when you fix your crown, aka fix your mind to go ahead and attract what it is that you want. And I
Yeah.
guess I'm coming in this hard because this 2026 is the year of the horse.
Yes.
And many people don't fully grasp what this means. First and foremost, this is a Chinese zodiac.
Yeah.
Why is the Chinese zodiac so important, everybody? Because it aligns with the natural spring equinox. They have their new year 3 weeks before the spring equinox, right?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's,
You giving me new information. I'm like, oh, I'm listening.
yeah, because everybody. And I'm also exposing this because we do have a natural inclination to nature, but we don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's the year of the, or it's a 1 year, and we don't even know why we're even inclined to it.
Yeah.
It's because that's that higher self, those higher faculties, that higher brain power trying to activate, but you keep eating those foods, or you keep hanging around those people, you keep listening to that music that's lowering your frequency, so
Lowering
your
your
higher
vibrations.
power, the higher self cannot sit in or set in or sink in, right? So the horse is also, it's a fire horse.
Okay.
So it's a fiery horse. It can be looked at as a phoenix. It can be looked at as the Sagittarian, what's it called? Senator? I believe
Senator?
the Sagittarius is like the horse mixed with the man.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, it can be looked at as that. Also, it can be looked at as the fiery horse that's on the Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? So now we're talking about horsepower.
That means that, yeah.
Right? So
That's why I'm
people
like,
think that the horse is the hardworking. Yeah, it is one of the hardest working things or animals we could say in nature. Also, the horse is known for its power, right? So power is also equivalent to knowledge. They say knowledge equals power. So this is the opportunity for us to tap into our knowledge, so we can get empowered. And your knowledge is your awareness, and your awareness is your perspective, and your perspective is your experience. And we
yes.
are in the golden age with these devices, because you can experience almost anything through these waves, through this
Yes.
internet. Our parents didn't grow up, and they had to use their imagination and what the stories and experiences their parents put them on. And their parents put them on.
Yes.
And that's not too many generations ago before we start getting into the whole, economical movement that happened here.
Yeah,
Slavery.
yeah.
Okay. So we didn't know much. We
for
didn't have
real.
access to much. We're
Yeah.
literally the first generation to be in school and to be given these devices.
Yes.
And we were the last generation to grow up in school and to not have these devices.
I was just talking to my father about this. Like, you really just sparked my mind. I was just talking to my dad about this. I was just like, we grew up and we saw internet evolve. I was like, now it's instant. Everything's so like boom, boom, boom. It's so much. And we had a time frame where we actually were able to enjoy outside. We were able to actually have time to sit down and think. We had to read books. We had to do certain things because we didn't have anything else in terms of, having to go back into social media and review all those different things. We had the time to ourselves. We had to, you know what I'm saying? And most times for us, especially me growing up with my siblings, we were in like one bedroom, three teenagers. So we were looking for time by ourselves. Like I'm looking
Yeah.
for outside a little. Let me give me a little space over here by myself. So I had a good time in terms of growing up in that era. I feel like it was definitely different than kids now. It surprises me so much when like I see a 9-year-old and they have a full on cell phone. I'm like, what? I couldn't get a cell phone until I paid for it. So it's pretty interesting, but yeah. Yeah.
And you never met anyone who
Yeah, like I've never met anyone who went
Back to
through
my
the
commercial break.
whole right. Went through like cancer and everything like that and like made it through and everything was good and they never had it, really kind of encountered them again. I feel like a lot of people that I've met that have survived cancer, they always have that fear. And I think it's most times because the doctor's always telling you it's the chance it can come back and all these
Oh
different
yeah,
things. So it's like, man, that's really cool.
they give me a long list of things not to do. They're like, you do this and the cancer can come back. You know what I'm saying? It's like a long book. I was
Oh,
like, well,
man.
if I use that, I'll never live. But yeah, it's cool and it's very unique to go through that experience having cancer at such a young age, and
Yeah.
I definitely want to lead with that more. This is what makes me, the royal minister. It was the mentality that I developed to seek more.
Yeah.
And that's what makes up my character. And yeah, it was hell. There's no, well, at least what I went through, I'm not here to subjugate anybody's thoughts.
Yeah.
But I experienced hell on earth.
On earth. That's what I
You
just
know,
said. Hell
you
on
know.
earth.
Yeah, like just having to do transplants of, bone marrow transplants and blood transfusions. And I have O negative blood. So at times it would take a long time to find blood, and I'd
Yeah.
be in there suffering,
Yeah.
from a lack of blood. And also I would have a lack of platelets too.
Oh wow.
Platelets those are the cells that come to the surface when you cut yourself or something.
Yeah.
These are what repair that
Repairs the-
DNA. So I have low platelets and I have low blood, and it's like I just been there dying out.
Oh, man.
Having it, and I was helpless, and even formless. So I got to experience that. Yeah, depending on what you're going through, yeah, hell can be on earth. And I even had the experience of having a near-death experience, where for me, I had a tumor that was about the size of, like you could say, a mini football, like pretty big, here underneath my left lung. And,
Oh,
and
man.
that's how I found out about the cancer. I was just telling my mom something is not right. I keep, exercising when I'm at gym. I feel like I have heartburn, and to the point where I was like, I think you need to take me to the hospital. My mother's from Africa. She was like, yeah, nothing, you're fine. Nothing's wrong with you.
Right.
Drink
some tea.
Hey, African parents is like, hey, please stop. Like, you need to go and do the thing that you came here to do, okay? Like, we don't have time
Just
for anything
keep
else.
working.
Yeah, no, seriously, keep working. So I got sick, like very high fevers, like a couple of nights in a row. And then that's when she noticed. She said, okay, something's not right. Like, you're here up at 4 a.m. and you're sitting in the living room. She took me to the hospital. Northside Hospital was like, he looks fine. They didn't even take me into the hospital.
Northside?
They examined.
Northside, you wrong.
Yeah, yeah, Northside. Okay, hey, okay, Northside. I don't know
wrong
too
for
many
that.
people born at Northside. That's why everybody from born at Grady or Decatur. Okay.
Oh my, that's crazy too.
Yeah, so as soon as we left the hospital, I experienced like this sharp pain, like something was stabbing me in the side, and I was like crying, and my mom was like, "No," so she took me to Scottish Rite. Scottish Rite, which is also another very interesting occult thing, the rites, right? And they immediately took me in, did an X-ray, and found out that I had a tumor here underneath my left lung. Right, I had to be put into a bed for about 3 to 4 weeks, where they put a tube inside of my chest and they had to drain the fluids. You know, so
Yeah.
I'm in the bed with a tube at the side of my chest. They draining the fluids and they're preparing me for this open chest surgery where
Yeah.
they're gonna remove the mass from my body.
Right.
You know, and then I will begin the chemotherapy and X, Y, and Z. So
Wow.
this was the beginning stages, and when they removed the mass after the 3 weeks of draining the fluids, I mean, it was bad. I gotta be
Yeah.
transparent about my story. I had to wear a
Yeah.
diaper.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a whole reset. You know, I'm 12 years old, 11 years old. I got to wear a diaper again. You know, I couldn't even go to the bathroom.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it was intense, y'all. You know, this is what I don't pay for these with my life. Okay, that's how I know all this information. This is the law of equivalent exchange that they talk about in the what's it called, that show,
What show?
Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal. Oh, you
And
know
they
what?
teach you about alchemy.
A lot of people have told me. Even my brother told me to get on that show.
Yeah,
I
because
gotta get into it.
in the beginning of every episode, they remind you of the law of alchemy. It's how they start their episodes. And they're like, the law of alchemy goes like, in order to achieve certain levels of sacred or forbidden knowledge, you have to exchange something on the physical plane. So that was me giving my exchanges. I didn't know at the time. You know what I'm saying? I almost gave my life. You know, so yeah, they took out the mask, just wanted to throw it, lighten up a little bit. And they I had heart complications and my heart stopped. And they had to resuscitate me, you know, with the clear, you know, so I had to be brought back here, you know, and for me at the time, it felt like I was gone for a long time, you know. I was in the intense care unit, the ICU, and this induced coma. They said I was asleep for about 2 to 3 days. For me, it felt like it was way longer than that, you know. And I was just when I was asking the who, the what, the when, where, the who, the how, the why. You know, I was really asking like how can this happen? Because I was thinking it's still happening to me, not I'm already transitioned. You know, the where are you, God? You know, why would you let this happen to me?
Yeah.
That's when I first realized there was nothing out there. It'd be like, where are you? Where are you? Where are
It's
you?
the echo.
You know? And I was like, okay, this isn't funny. But then it's like, you could hear the answer in the question.
Oh.
So you had to kind of just wait to receive, you know. So that was my first experience of, you know, the void space and understanding more about, you know, the intricacies of life.
Wow.
You know, so I definitely want to lead with that more, and that's why
Yeah.
now I'm doing a capital raise and raising capital.
I
And
would like for you to definitely expand more on that, the raising the capital.
the capital raise comes from an initiative that's actually called Project Ross.
Okay.
We talked about Project Ross being your reticular activating system and that mechanism in your brain that helps you get to the next level when you say, let's do it. Right? Ross is also another acronym that we transformed into redevelopment
Okay.
of all systems.
Ah.
So now we're talking about the educational system because I didn't know in school you can get cancer as a child.
Yes.
But yet there's 1 in 4 children that are dying from cancer. So let's learn about how we can prevent these things. And if a child is subject to these terms, let's figure out how we can make this the most beautiful of an experience through
Yeah.
understanding,
Yeah.
you know, because man, then you have the foods you eat at school. So that's like going into the healthcare system. You know what I'm saying? Into what you're watching when you get off of school. That's entertainment, you know. And then you have the politics and the religion that stand outside of that support all of the education and the healthcare system. So Project Ross is an initiative to where we're raising capital to be able to build out new healthcare systems that treat the roots and not just the symptoms of dis-ease.
Yes.
Right? Targeting and focusing on mental health because that's what most people suffer with, you know, nowadays. You know, we're raising capital to be able to sponsor and to also invest and fund in underdeveloped communities and entrepreneurs and artists. You know, as we understand that there is a great divide and a great agenda going back to those founding fathers, you know. You see, I don't know my Black Power fist. Going back to those founding fathers who laid down the healthcare system and the educational system, and they didn't lay it down for you and for your family to grow and to flow and to express and to evolve.
Yeah.
They laid it down for us to be controlled. So now there must be some type of reform, which we saw maybe 20 to 40 years after the Emancipation Proclamation and the freeing of so-called Americans or slaves, Black Wall Street came about. This is
Yeah.
only about 45 years later. You know, so we've seen our peoples do their best to build their own banks and build their own towns, and we've also seen our people fall short of this. So Project Ross is an initiative to where instead of us building in one general location, no, we'll build from all of our locations. You know, your original house, which they say in scripture that your body is your temple. You know,
Yes.
that's your original home. And when you remember how to piece together the other bodies in your home, aka your family, which that can be difficult and a challenge because of the different frequencies. But as long as you connect to a strong enough family or frequency, you'll always have the charge to help your lineage or your family. You know, so that's what Project Ross for. It's an initiative to be able to not only raise capital, but to build out these curriculums and these systems for us to remember, because we have been
Yeah.
separated and history did happen. And we must honor it. We must respect it.
Yes.
Those founding fathers were not just politicians. They were not just government, right? They were philosophers, practicing philosophy, right? And understanding the philosopher's stone, which is alchemy. So they were alchemists, right? They were astrologists, knowing exactly what the July 4th date represents. And it's not just a day of independence, but it's the day that our sun, our planet, Earth, and the sun's, you could say, guiding power, which is Sirius, another star system, comes into alignment. This is what happens on July the 4th. So we think it's like, oh, it's a day of independence. No, guys. The founding fathers, I keep doing my Black Power face. You know, they came from Black European noble families, right? So they're using occult means to be able to govern the mind. This is what government is. Govern to control, ment, mind. You know, ment is a word that means mind in Latin. So, yeah, Project Ross, we're raising $100 million, which is very generic. It's very baseline when you're in the field of technology and consultant and law like we are.
Yeah.
So we have a technology, we have a consultant law firm,
Okay.
you know, not traditional, and we have a multimedia company. You know, these are vertically integrated. This is something that Nipsey Hussle, shout out to the great Nipsey, he
Yes.
talked about in his later days. Vertical integration. That means you got a parent company, and you have a sister company, and you have a brother company, and they all work
Yes.
together through assignments.
Yes.
Right.
Building an empire right there. Definitely.
And so, yeah, and I teach this, you know, online in the private wealth community,
Okay.
how to leverage your income, how to leverage your time, how to leverage your assets to be able to get to the next level. Because for the most part, all you have is what you need.
Yeah.
You don't need anything to get to the next level.
Yeah.
You just could use a little bit of realizing.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I agree with that. I don't know. That just made because I mean, I always like just being on the podcast, recording my sessions and different things like that. I literally was thinking like, oh, I can't do this by myself. Like I need somebody. And the friend that I talked about earlier about Let It Go, I was originally like, okay, well, I'll do it with her. I mentioned it to her, everything. And eventually, you know, it came to show that she really was not for it the same way I was. Like, I was like, come on, let's do this. And she was just like, okay, well, whenever, you know. And I wasn't on the whenever because it's something that I really felt like, no, I need to do this now. If I don't do this now, I'm not going to do this. So I went ahead and did it. And I'm like, I don't even have that much money. I'm not booming in finances and stuff like that. But I had enough to make it work. So I measured out my finances.
Say
went
that
ahead.
again, y'all. They need to hear that part.
But I had enough. You know what I'm saying? I had enough.
But you had what you needed to get started.
Exactly. I had a need. I had everything that I needed. I had enough. So it's a matter of you making a choice because a lot of times we're all not willing to sacrifice what the comfort, you know, oh, I can order food out. I can, you know what I'm saying, go out to drink with my friends and I can do these different things. You don't want to sacrifice those little things just to do something even bigger. This is bigger than me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like us sharing this information, you coming on the podcast, sharing your information, that was like, man, like we need information out here so people can understand certain things, because there's a lot of people probably even experiencing certain things and they don't know how to navigate. They don't know how to, understand what they're going through, or even get to where they can understand, or who they should talk to understand. And having people with different perspectives, different, experiences, walks of life will help other people kind of go ahead and connect. And that's the main thing I feel like we need to do. We need to find connections that are actually worthwhile and valuable in our own experience of life. So I learned that, I have everything, like, saying that I need to go ahead and get started. And I went ahead and started it. And now it's my responsibility to keep it going. So it keeps me in that mindset, like, okay, you got to make sure you got enough money for this. You got to make sure you do da. So even with that, it seems like I have more money. It seems like I actually have more.
Yes, and that's actually a rich trick. Well, I shouldn't say it like that. That's tricks of the rich.
A rich trick.
Now, I was
Rich
making
trick,
music.
y'all.
I was in the studio a couple nights ago, so I was dropping some bars. So that's the other half of the Royal Minister is you have Infinite Steve. I was born Mohammed Stephen Kamara, which is where you get the Mohammed from.
Okay.
Right? It was my birth name. And I grew up in the system. I was asleep, y'all. I didn't know, even though I had cancer. My mama had me baptized in the Catholic Church at 12 years old. She always was like, you got to go be a medical doctor or go be a lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
That's the African parents.
That's exactly,
totem pole.
yeah.
You need to be a medical doctor or a lawyer, so that's what I was told my whole life. So I went to college to be a lawyer. Then I found out, wait, the law is not what it seems. And I was
So
lied to
much-
about having cancer, and one of the secrets of the rich is like, once you say, okay, we're going to go 100% all in on this project, all the tools literally start manifesting. It's like the only way you can fail, like you said, is through you not being responsible or
Yes.
having responsibility.
Yes.
Because responsibility is, again, in English, sometimes you got to break these words down. Responsibility. So it's your
Yes.
ability to respond. So it don't matter if you're late, show
Right.
up. It don't matter. It don't matter if you don't have all of the tools that you think that you need.
Yes.
Show up.
Show up.
And I learned this back in the day when I played football. Yeah, I still play football while I was going through the cancer experience. I said, look, I hear you, Mom. Go be a medical doctor. But I need to go to the NFL, okay? I'm blessed and gifted with these the talents that I have.
Yeah.
So I would go to football practice, and people would think I would be crazy and whatnot. And I had to learn to just show up. Sometimes I didn't do much at practice, but just showing up just helped me imagine being out there. And the more I imagined, the more I actually got the power. And this is why Albert Einstein said, even more powerful than knowledge is imagination.
Telling y'all, be optimistic.
Yeah.
Be optimistic.
You know?
You see, right? Clock it.
Keep it close. I don't know what this means. I learned last
It's
week.
clock it.
This means
Clock
it's
it.
good. I don't
It
know what
means
this
clock
means.
it.
This reminds me of SpongeBob. And imagination is what they use to break out of the box.
Yes.
So they were in a box. If y'all didn't see the SpongeBob episode, him and Patrick, his best friend, were in a box, and they were like doing all types of things. It sounded like a movie was happening in the box. And their neighbors, Squidward, who he can be one of those Debbie Downers.
Debbie Downer. I was just thinking that's a Debbie
Squidward is
Downer.
clearly a tourist. Because he's about his aesthetics. He's about
Yes.
his money. He's about his
Yes.
business. And we all have that piece of us. We all have that Squidward. I don't have time for that. I'm working on my craft right now. What's up with all this fun that you're having,
Yeah,
right?
you're doing too much.
So yeah, that's the duality or the polarity of things, right? So going back to the imagination, every time he went to check on his neighbors, SpongeBob and Patrick, inside this box, it sounded like they were racing NASCAR or in the final showdown. He would open the box and they're just sitting in there. And he's like, wait, what? And they're like on some, at the time I thought it was funny, but now I realize it through what Albert Einstein said. More powerful than knowledge is imagination. And that's literally what they did. They had a whole rainbow analogy, where
Imagination.
they would just told Squidward, the point of that moment was that through imagination, and what I learned on that football field is Imagination is the core of knowledge. You got to use your imagination.
Okay.
You know, magi prefix for magi, straight, or magician,
Okay.
right? So eyes, your eye, the inner magician, right, is what forms the nation, aka imagination. You know, so I've learned that you can embody the feeling of those things that SpongeBob and Patrick were going through having that imagination. I mean, just watch children play. They can have no toys, but they're like,
They having way more fun than we are as adults. I'm gonna just say that.
That's because the imagination activates certain neurons in the brain that then release the dopamine or the oxytocin.
Yeah.
And that release cortisol. So you're releasing stress while also picking up the oxytocin and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
this is the secret. You know, you can do this at any point in time at work, but the frequency of work and even some of your homes, the frequency of your home is not tuned for you to use your imagination. Otherwise, you might not be there for too much longer. You'll realize that more power than knowledge is you knowing. Imagination is you just thinking, I wonder how. You don't have to know. And you just have to, I wonder how. And okay, now let me just move forward, let go, because you don't want to harbor and hold on to the thought so much to the point where you're chasing something.
Yeah.
Because when you're chasing, that means the thing is running away. So you want to let it go and to go back into just being in flow.
I just said that. Like, I'm the exact same words you just said.
We're
I'm
not
like,
chasing
we don't chase nothing.
We're not chasing woman. We're not chasing man. You're
Yes.
not chasing God. You be still, evolve, flow, and express.
Okay, flow. Let it flow. And that's exactly how I even came up with the name, because I'm like, it takes evolution, and then once you flow from that evolution, then you'll be able to also even express what it is you've already gone through. You know what I'm saying? You can now kind of go ahead and express. It's almost like how I imagine is somebody like projecting out of their mouth, and it's like you can see like the particles projecting out of somebody's mouth after something maybe even comes up, but it has to go through that process of leveling up all the way out to go ahead and be expressed.
Yeah.
So
that's throat chakra energy.
yeah.
That's when you're just in the state of evolving. That means your electric magnetic field is at work. You know, we all know about EMFs. So let's just take a moment to honor our EMF. That's your magnetic field. You know, the hue man. Hue is a prefix that comes from light. Hue means light, right?
That's very true.
Man comes from the Hebrew word Adamah, such as Adam, which means ground or clay. So human is a light being that's formed from the ground or the clay.
From the clay.
So that hue is that magnet, right? When you take out the net out of magnet, you get magic. Or excuse me, if you take the net out of magnetic, you get magic. So understanding that your magnet or your magnetic self is already working, your vibration is already attempting to do the thing, right? You got calcium and iron and potassium and all of these different chemicals that make up your body, your being, which are the same carbon chemicals that make up stars. So you are a star in human form, and the most supreme one, because you have a solar plexus, right? You have a soul, which soul is the sun in Latin and in Spanish. And that's why they call us each persons. We're all personal sons or percentages of the sun. Now, when you can embody you being the sun, S-U-N, not S-O-N, then you would have then increased that power of the imagination, right? And then you'll be able to literally do whatever it is that you can think of.
See, that's exactly. I'm automatically thinking like in terms of with you saying that, it's like if we even as adults could slightly just loosen our grip on this is what reality is. We have to this is and that, and always trying to be the all knowing. Because you'll see, especially with parents, that's usually how it is. Like, I know, but they don't know. Most times they don't know. They don't be knowing. They be winging it and then be acting like it's true, full on knowledge, like it's solidified. And I feel like if they
That's a fact. Parents means y'all do better.
gotta do better. But just if they let go a little bit, I feel like honestly, You know what I'm saying? And kind of fall into the imagination. Even with children looking for support from their parents with, you know, certain things that they are imagining that they could do. A lot of times, that's, you know, where we call belief and different things like that. Children have a more stronger belief system in a lot of different things than we would even. You know what I'm saying? They have more power in that because they could see a million miles, you know what I'm saying, ahead. And we're like, what, how could you even do that? I wanted to be a freaking scientist when I was a kid. And, you know, over time it was like, oh no, that's not best, you know, because society's da 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 da. You're not gonna make much money. All these different things. It's like, all right, well, don't do that. But I was so sure, like I was gonna be a teacher and a scientist, and I knew exactly what I wanted to study. I wanted to study DNA, and I just knew that. You know what I'm saying? So in being a child and remembering that feeling now as an adult, I would be more afraid because of what, you know, my quote unquote knowledge of the world would be of, oh no, that's not going to work nowadays because I wouldn't be able to da 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 da. And if I had the imagination of that child, like young little girl, it would be like, oh, you know, I could do it. I'll probably just jump into it the same way when I gave my mom all the headaches in the world. You know what I'm saying? I'm just jumping into it and like I trust that it's gonna work out. Like whatever.
And that's because as children, you are coming as a new spirit on this earth plane, right? At least in this timeline, right? So as the child, you already carry your code, your genetic code. It's at the forefront, you know, and so you have your memory activated. Which is why babies are amazing. You know, they can't speak because they are all knowing.
They are
And if you understood energy, vibrations, and frequencies, then you and that baby could talk. You know, so I have a little nephew that's 1 year old, and I don't ever have to say no words to him. You know, I'll be like, I look at him like this with these eyes,
It's just like
and he'd be like, and I'd be like, and he'd be like, he don't speak. He don't say no words. He don't know English. He don't know how to
that's so
speak
funny.
yet.
Right.
You know, but he knows.
You know.
Right. So it's like, and that's the light side, right? Imagination and understanding the power to create. Now there is a dark side to reality, and I just wanted to be that one, okay?
The Debbie Downer. I'm just joking.
I'm, gonna be,
I'm just joking.
I'm Uncle Downer, okay? No Debbie. So, but understanding that the reason why parents and us as adults at times we don't tap into our imagination is because, oh my God, what if I lose my house? What if I lose my car?
That fear.
What if I lose my job? You know, and then what? Right? So to anybody who has gone through any traumatic or life-changing experiences where you have lost things, I would ask you today, where are you now? Right? After or when you were going through the things that you went through, right? I know you probably didn't think you would make it, but look at you now.
Yes.
2026. Looking all good and
Thriving.
you're professional and smelling all good.
Right.
Like I'm talking to my mama because my mama surprised me. You know, I called her yesterday, was her birthday. And yeah, last year on Christmas, I helped her retire.
Yeah.
So my mother went
That's
and bought a
really
house
beautiful.
in France, and she's been spending the whole entire year, like, you know, just
That
building
is
out
so
the rooms.
awesome.
And she kind of made it look like the house that we had here in Georgia. And I'm like, dang, it's like no matter where you go, there you are. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's like you're always gonna bring your essence, and yeah, it was just helping me realize that the fear it is evident, but it's false evidence
Yeah.
appearing real.
Yeah.
And what helped you get over to where you are now and today was your ability to persist. You know that
Yes.
no matter what I'm going through or how I feel, like I gotta keep going.
Yes.
There's people counting on me or depending on me, even if it's just my cousin or my sister or my uncle or my father or my mother. There's at least one person or a good friend. There's one person that truly believes in me.
Believes in me. Yes.
And some people, even beyond belief, they know something deep down in you is gonna win.
Yes.
You know, so if somebody or something outside of you can see that, you know, then you gotta be able to tap in and see that within. And okay, here's the dark side. There is a law enforcement.
Yes.
You know, so there are natural laws. We talked about what goes up and what comes down. But then there comes this thing that steps in between that calls themselves the law enforcement. But they don't enforce these natural laws.
They don't enforce
So
natural laws.
What laws are they enforcing?
The laws of men.
Damn, okay, we have the dark side. Talk about it. Let's give
the
them
laws of men.
Yeah, the laws of men and of man and of those founding fathers. Right? You know, which those laws have to do with the contracts that they originally orchestrated and designed with the ancestors and the elders of these lands. What were these laws that these men put down on these contracts, and how do they still impact us today?
Today.
You know, when you can get a little bit more of an inner and under and overstanding of those things, then you would have gained both the light power, as the Jedis call it, and the dark power, you know, to be able to fully bring vision into fruition.
Yeah.
You know, because those laws were created not to make them rich, right? Those laws were created to protect them with what they already had.
Yeah.
And they had nothing. The pilgrims
That's crazy.
came in here and had nothing.
Had nothing.
Who are the pilgrims now? The Quakers, right? How much do they generate? Do you see them working? Do you see them in society?
I swear.
What about the Mormons? What about those Hasidic Jews who, not even 100 years ago, they were in their Holocaust?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Jews were being persecuted in the 40s. And now they own all the broadcasting stations. They own all the movie networks.
All the dang on
They
jewelry
own all
stores.
the record labels.
I'm like all the jewelry stores too.
Right. They were in the Holocaust by a whole nother European nation.
They have contracts. They got other things going on behind
You know?
closed doors.
So we don't got to get deep into unveiling the cover, but something happened where they came together.
And decided that we didn't need to be included at any point. No, for real. Like, no, for
so a
real.
lot-
Because who was rooting for us?
A lot of times when you come together with people on a like mind, you come together because y'all suffering together. You know?
Exactly.
So it's not that you're attempting to disclude or leave people out. Is you're really focused on what we need to do to survive.
That is true. That is
know,
true. I agree with that.
So they actually invested in institutes, and they did what we talked about, Project Ross, and they started redeveloping their systems.
Their systems.
And they created a fund where they made sure that they were built universities, and they built hospitals, and they built court systems, and they made their children go and learn these things.
They surely do. Now they
You know?
they definitely make sure that their children go and learn every piece of knowledge about it. So if anything, the business is passed down to you.
Yes.
And if anything goes wrong, you'll be handling it.
Yes.
It's all in like inner
Yes.
circle type of
Yes.
thing.
So this one here has studied those Jews. In fact, yes, when my first mentors told me, they said, "Okay, we're gonna study the Jews." You know, because this is they're behind a lot of what we're into.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna get too radical on here. I'm just gonna say exposing a little bit of that, and when we understand that law enforcement, then we can alleviate some of that fear, and we can be the law enforcers.
Yeah.
Because there were a group of people here known as the Moorish Americans, or the Moors. They weren't Moorish.
Mm-hmm.
You
They
know?
were Moors.
And
Yeah.
amor is a word in Spanish. If you say amor, that means love.
Mm-hmm.
So to be amor, they understood from that region that they had to do something with love.
Yeah.
And also in Spanish, the word mer, M-E-R, because you could spell more, M-O-O-R, M-U-U-R. In English, they do this thing called transliteration,
Yes.
where you can exchange certain vowels in words.
No, literally.
So I'm not going to deep into that, but Jesus is Horus, okay, and Horus is Jesus. And
Go ahead.
these are great clippers. When you're doing the Instagram reels, you gotta throw up the
Yeah, you
image. So
gotta
it's
throw
like
it.
seeing is believing. So I'm not just talking, right?
No, for real.
Right, and just understanding that, the scope of what I'm saying is the law enforcement and the law itself. It was set up to benefit and to help us, although we have fear around it because we have ignorance around it.
Yeah.
And
I was
I
about
do
to
my
say.
best online, and I'll be doing my best this year to do more in-person events
Yeah.
for people to know about your status. I was about to say your stats, your rights, and not your privileges. They did let all of the slaves or indentured servants go, But if these are the people that build the nation, and then you didn't want them to be educated, then why is it okay to go to school with them and educate them and go to church with them? And once we get the answers to these questions, and then we have gained a lot of power back. And we'll be able to move something like the Mormons or something like those Quakers, or and we
Yeah.
don't have to take anyone's land. In fact, this is your grandmama's and your granddaddy's land that was actually taken. So
That was actually,
you
yeah.
can actually get it back through inheriting it,
Yeah.
because they did pass it down to you, but you have to be a beneficiary. You know, but if you don't know that, then you're probably a trustee, and that's why you're working hard to maintain the land, because that's what the trustees do. That's their job.
Yeah.
You know, beneficiaries, that's the babies. It's like, hey,
I got
you
the
know,
benefits.
I'm in my grandmama's house. I don't gotta do nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Until I grow up.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I feel like in all that is when you said like it's the fear because it's a lack of knowledge and ignorance, and I definitely agree with that. I feel like that breeds fear. Ignorance breeds fear. Lack of knowledge, it actually breeds the fear because you don't know. And just like I said before, people are afraid of the unknown. So, and that even goes back into letting go to grow because you're afraid to let go of the things that you already feel like they're supposed to be there, or somebody has made you feel or think that these things have to be in this particular order or done in this way for them to work out in a certain favor. So, but I am going to conclude our episode. I enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for sharing so much information. Of course, I'll definitely be putting his social medias and everything, all his platforms down below the video. So please check him out. He's a great individual, beautiful soul, and obviously has a lot of knowledge. But we'll tune back in for the 4th episode. I'll go ahead and share some clips on that as well. And thank you all for joining me. You giving me new information. I'm like, oh, I'm listening.
Yeah, because everybody. So, and I'm also exposing this because we do have a natural inclination to nature, but we don't know why.